the Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Abba Noah, Shabbat Shemaya, Kodash Haya Shemka Ahaya, Malakwaka Taba'a, Ratazawanka Haya Asha, Ba'arataza Kawa, Haya Bashemaya, the thunder Noah, Lacham Kau Yawam, Wasalak Noah, Kawat Waf Noah, Hasalak Noah, Kawat Waf Yanawa Wala'a, Abayak Noah, Anasaya one above, Awashai Noah, Man Rai Kayalaka, Hamalakwa Waha Allah, Ahathapa Arak, La Iwalamyam, Aman.
Man, what a heavenly prayer. What an heavenly prayer. All praises be to the Most High. I'm Elder Rawchaa along with Elder Lawya with our weekly Sabbath lesson. How are you doing, brothers and sisters? I hope you all are blessed. Obviously, there was a snowstorm on this side, on the East Coast. And hey, if that doesn't humble you to understand the power of the Most High, well, He can take some little flakes, little small water, and turn them into crystals, only for them to fall coming out of, it tell you in the Bible, it comes through gates. Little flakes that couldn't do anything but melt once it touched the skin of a man. But when it come together, it can shut down a region. If that doesn't humble us, I don't know what can. All right, we have our weekly Sabbath. Again, I would like to say shalom to all the brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. I pray that the Most High is present in your lives and is protecting your children through these times. And as you can see, we have a serious topic today for this Sabbath. Now, before I go into the topic, why is God allowing this? Man, why is God allowing this? Before I go into that, I just need to make a few announcements, okay? First of all, again, I would like to thank you all for being here for us. And we're here for you on this Sabbath. Get your pen and pad together. Hey, we're going to be going into some stuff today. But before we go there, let me make an announcement. The production team is going to fix that banner on A Gathering 144 that says January 30th. We took an extra week off. So the Academy is February 6th. February 6th is the date of the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Okay? You can always go to historytimes.org. We're taking enrollments now. And these classes are greater than any theologian school or any place you can go to learn about God or the Bible. And it doesn't matter your education level. It doesn't matter whether or not you sought to be a Bible teacher, because the Bible was meant to do what? To teach a standard. It wasn't meant that only a few people should know the Bible to teach everyone else. Everyone should know the Word of God and the doctrine it has, the strong content on how to instruct their families to understand the true narrative of the Bible. Okay, the fall of a nation with that prophetic rising of a people as we see today. All right, we all should understand the Bible at the minimum from its historical value. Okay, to us. Its historical value to us because we're the same people the God of Israel saved out of Egypt. We're those same people. And that same narrative has taken place again. Okay, so one thing I like about the Hebrew and Bible Academy, it doesn't matter what level of education, what you sought out to do, or believe it or not, it'll answer many questions brothers and sisters has always had concerning the Bible and God. Personal questions. To give a logical reason to the world we're in today. Because without the knowledge of God and not being able to make sense of this world, that could drive people mad. A lot of people have gone crazy because they don't realize why God is allowing this. Okay? But the Hebrew and Bible Academy will actually give you the proper perspective to how the world is in the condition it's in today. And I made sure. Now, folks, theologian seminary and all these things, it costs. Okay, a lot to get the books and all these things. The Catholic Church and the apologetics makes hands over fists and finances from our people in the ghettos, setting up churches, having to go to them to learn the correct, well, what they would teach or claim is the correct exegesis of the Bible. They're liars. Our people pay all this money to go to a theologian school, to come in a neighborhood, come into our communities, only to push the lies that continue to erode or destroy our communities. The proof of that, we have a church on almost every corner of our neighborhoods. And it isn't getting better. It has gotten exponentially worse. So at least with the Hebrew and Bible Academy from the beginning, We had to make sure we kept the academy at a price our people can afford. $50 a month. Okay. That's about $1 and some change a day for 3 months. All right. So I made sure that even though it costs to do it, administration and everything else, and what we do to put this together, I made sure that since the first day we did the academy, it never went up on price, regardless of how much it cost us on this end. Okay. I'm keeping it at the same rate. Doesn't matter how much knowledge and how many more books we get and how much more the Most High expounds. We'll keep it at that price, knowing the conditions of our people. But it pales in comparison to what our people pay the theologians, that destructive doctrine called modern day Christianity, to come in and only to erode our communities even worse. Okay. So you can go to historytimes.org. And as you see, we have brand new in-depth lessons on finding the Ark of the Covenant. I know a lot of you have seen Raiders of the Lost Ark and don't understand the history behind the Ark of the Covenant, but it's a machine. It's a heavenly machine that once these empires fall, that will be presented by our God back to us. We will get this holy machine, okay? This clean weapon that if any nation attempt to come against us, automatically the heavens work. The angels work with this Ark of the Covenant to destroy our enemies, go into war without losing one man. Without losing one man in war. Once the Most High revealed this back to us, and it was prophesied that he would give this back to us in the wilderness, and I'm going to be talking about that. The gates of hell. When souls leave the body, exactly what's the destination? Where do they go? Okay, you're going to find there's gates that lead into the earth at birth, and there's an exit point that the same spirits God sent. He has an exit point with an angel that guides us into habitations. We're going to be talking about that, the visible and the invisible, the interaction between the celestial, the interactions with the celestial and us, how it's intertwined. We're in a world believing we are alone, believing that, all things are relative and we're just here and we disappear without any knowledge of everyday interaction with the spiritual world. I'm talking about angels. I'm going to be talking about that when I break down the gates of hell, portals. A matter of fact, NASA in 2012 found all the entry and exit points of the earth called gates or portals. This is science. Now, why are they looking for portals in the earth? Hey, that will be discussed when we drop in the Hebrew and Bible Academy, tracing the serpent seed. We're going to also talk about Israel's tribulation in the wilderness, which is a powerful lesson, plus more in-depth lessons on marriage and family. Can it survive? You don't want to miss that. Okay. Now, I'm going to be there regardless, right? I'm teaching. Elder Lawya is going to be there. He's going to do what he does with the Hebrew and whatever. And he does a great job with introducing that to us, as well as Shapat coming in during the news segment, one of the best informative news segments you can find on earth, where we'll take a regular news article and let you know the sinister plot behind most of what they tell you. No news is reported by chance. It's to progress an agenda against mankind. And we're going to talk about that and more in the Academy with Shapat in our news. Okay. So if this interests you, if you're interested in it, keep in mind, it's $50 a month. It breaks down to $150, but we made it where it's 2 small payments at the same price. $75, $75 to get in, and it's $75 at the second month, and the third month, it's all covered. Okay, $75 entry, $75 the second month, and you're covered for the third month. You can just sit back and just get the information. It's quite that simple. Okay, so I hope to see you in the Hebrew and Bible Academy February 6th. Okay, had to correct that date, February 6th. All right. All right. One other thing I wanted to announce real quick is that our calendar pre-order is up for the Gathering of Christ Church. You go to gatheringofchristchurch.org and you can order your GOCC 2022 Hebrew calendar. And this theme is the 10 Commandments. The theme on this one is the 10 Commandments, as you can see. Okay. As you can see. All right. So if this interests you, to get the right times according to the holy days of the Bible, you go to gatheringofchrist.org. You'll see pre-order for calendars. Click on that and get yours. It's absolutely outstanding. All right. So, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. Shalom.
How are you, Elder Lawya?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm blessed by the best. Now, here we go. And his name is Ahia. Again, February 6th, go to historytimes.org and enroll. Elder Lawya, you see the topic we have in store for the brothers and sisters throughout the earth today. Why is God allowing this?
Yes,
right?
Sir.
And that's a question that normally when we begin to grow, seek to find ourselves, that's asked for those who believe in God. That quest to understand him, right? Let's go to that scripture, Elder Lawya. I create evil. Right? Let's get that real quick. Right?
Yes, sir.
Because what happens, Isaiah 45, real quick. Hold Isaiah 45. What happens is, once we're past that childhood stage, there's a quest to find purpose. And usually that purpose for our lives is rooted in the core beliefs growing up throughout church, knowing that there is a God. So if there's a God, he has a purpose for me. And we go throughout life to try to find that purpose. But some people are confused or altogether get discouraged. Why? Because they witness how immoral people can be and how evil the earth have become. So that confuses people. If God has a purpose for me in this world, why does he make it so hard? I'm a good person. I want to do what I need to do. And here it is. Look at our neighborhoods. What God would allow this? Look at our people struggling opposed to other races of people. What God, and I touched on this a couple of weeks ago, but now this is like a continuation from last Saturday. Why is he allowing this? Well, those answers and more will be answered in this particular lesson. And it turns brothers and sisters numb. They become numb. They become complacent. They become, like the Bible says, reprobates, believing that there is no God. Look at the earth. Why is God allowing the wickedness? Elder Lawya, let's go now.
Yes, sir.
I need you to read Isaiah 45 and 7.
Isaiah 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things.
Now, understand that there's a creator, okay? An intelligence beyond intelligence, above everything, whom most people call God. Now, he created the celestial. Now, I go into this in more detail, tracing the serpent's seed. But in a nutshell, he created all of the celestial, which are angels. And keep in mind, brothers and sisters, in him creating the angels, he also created in heaven free will. A plan. Free will starting with the angels all the way to the degree in where the earth would be made. Now, through this process of creating the angels who would have free will, even to come against him, there was a grand design that would actually have man go through a process of time that would do what? Try him like gold, or try her like gold, where she would come out with all the experiences of time perfect. He or she would come out perfect in preparation for the world the Most High intended for us. Okay? What happens when you just give a child something without work, without effort? They tend not to appreciate it. So he created all of these dynamics to show those who really claim they love him worthy. Understand what I'm telling you here. He created it all. Even the bad stuff that would happen, he knew Lucifer would turn against him. But that bad element had to be created so that his children on earth, us, our people, would choose good over evil. And through that choosing, be worthy of what he has for us, what he have on the back end of this. Now, unfortunate for us, folks, our people, those who believe in God, Israelites and Gentiles, fortunate for us, we're at the end of it. We're close. But there's an unfortunate part of this. The closer we get to salvation, the closer we get to what he had prepared for us from the beginning, the tougher things will become. We're in a trial. We're being tried. It's making it past that time. What time? I'm going to talk about it. Get your Bibles together. So understand, the Most High made it all. Even the disobedient that would fall and disobey him to create all this chaos we see in earth. But he had a plan. He's letting the evil operate for a time. And above all, he's also watching the patience of the righteous. Who claimed that they believed in me? Who said that they loved and believed in me in the past? Whose faith has waned? They claim they love me and they have turned their back on me. Who are those? Right? So, the Bible says, as in the days of Noah, then shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Let's go back to the days of Noah. Why? Why is God allowing this? Do me a favor. Y'all doing a great job, but please, if you can, I really appreciate it. Just hit the like button if you can, okay? Real quick. All right. Elder Lawya, let's go. Genesis 6. Why is God doing this? Why is he allowing wickedness? Why? Why is he allowing innocent children, folks, to be preyed upon in these hospitals when they're born and assailed and all that, to try to put solutions and all that in people? Why is he allowing this crackpot science to destroy mankind? You're going to find out. You're going to know today. First and foremost, in heaven there was a standard. And brothers and sisters, the Most High gave the whole earth a standard. So that this world, so that people at the end of it could not blame him. The evil is there. But he gave us free will to choose good or the evil present. But understand, the standard was always there. The standard, and I'm going to talk about that standard in a moment. So what? That means man made a conscious choice. Man made a conscious choice. And then at the end of the conscious choice, making mistake after mistake against God, we're praying that he comes together in the back end and fix all what we broke consciously. And then say, well, what's going on with the world? What's going on with God? When he set a standard for us to follow, a standard people consciously broke. And then at the end of the day, he's the blame. And we're going to talk about that standard so no one is without excuse today. We're going to discuss that standard. Elder Lawya, let's go to the beginning, because I have to go here, because this is where the Most High God, Ahia is his name. This is where he decided before the flood to destroy the earth. This is where it is. And Christ said, as in the days of Noah, then shall the coming of the Son of Man be. To go back to Noah's time to understand when evil is at the height, to the degree where the evil is destroying humanity in incontrollable numbers. It's time. So God gave us what? He gave us a time stamp. That time stamp is how long he will allow what we're seeing to go on, until those who taught mankind the evil are judged. Man didn't create the evil. Man followed the evil. The fallen one, Lucifer, Satan, demons, principalities that control this earth and have set up Babylonian governments. Man are like children. All of creation, let me tell you, anything that you see that progressed our civilization came from the fallen ones. They'll say, well, this inventor, Tesla did this. Benjamin Franklin did that. No, folks. Every part of all technology since the beginning was given to mankind. Steve Jobs didn't create Apple. Okay. I touched on that in the academy to show you where Steve Jobs went. Where he went in India to sit with a shaman who would open up gates to give him information. Okay? So the more technology, the more access we get to freedom, the worse mankind becomes. To a degree where the Most High will say at one point, it's time. And at that time, the angels will enter this realm all at once. Every eye shall see. Elder Lawya, let's get Genesis 6 and 4. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days.
Before, let's go to 6 and 1.
6 and 1?
Yes.
Genesis 6 and 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
They took them wives of all that they chose. This is talking about the celestial. It's not talking about people on earth. The Catholic Church tried to cover the truth of the evil that came into the earth by claiming that this is the sons of Seth dealing or marrying the daughters of Cain. Well, that's a lie, because there was no law against that. There's no law against the sons of Seth dealing with the daughters of Cain. So they try to hide the fact that these were beings that came into the earth and caused chaos. These are the same gods the Catholic Church till this day burn candles to. The old gods before the flood are who the Catholics truly serve. They're not saints. They're spirits. The spirits that gives them ingenuity, technology, and insight on how to oppose God's people in the earth, or to oppress us, knowing that we were born to judge them. So there's two sides. Those who were born to go through the trials and be made like pure gold, to see things for what it is, to be a judge at the end of this. And those who would choose the technology and the ingenuity and the imagination that was taught before the flood by fallen gods. And they would actually take that side against us. I know this sounds like something out of some far sci-fi, but no, that's what it is, folks. So when we see the struggle that our people are going through, we cannot see it like this earth would like us to experience it or see it and be depressed and, oh, woe is me, why everyone else? Nah, this experience is given us the power to judge, to understand the struggle, to understand what it is to live in substandard scenarios and see everything from a vantage point that most could never understand. Why do you think the Most High have taken us through all these trials and tribulations as a people, generation as a generation? Because that's the experience we'll need at the end of this, not only to help others out of it, but to judge those who caused it. But to judge those who caused it. Finish reading, Elder Lawya, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Genesis chapter 6, verse 3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years.
Now, this is the piece that confused people to make people believe it's talking about man going rogue, man bad. He's going to lower the days of mankind's life expectancy. Nah, this is not what that's talking about. This is talking about years of jubilees. It's talking about a judgment on those who taught mankind evil. And through that evil, it led to all types of chaos to a degree where the Most High had to flood the earth. They began to make dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus rexes. they began to make giant animals to feed the giants or Nephilim that came from the celestial and whom they would deem mortals. I mean, this is not just a Bible narrative. You can find this in secular or other Gentile history. I mean, the Epic of Gilgamesh speaks of this from the Nephilims or the giants' viewpoint. Technology comes with what? A trade-off. And I'm going to talk about that, how it's no different today. But when it says his day will be 120 years, it's not talking about life expectancy. There's people even after that who lived past 120 years. That's talking about 120 jubilees from the time mankind had a choice between good and evil. $120 jubilees. A jubilee, according to the Bible, is 50. 7 Sabbaths and then the extra day like the Passover. You got the Passover, you count 7 Sabbaths, you're in first fruits, 50. Okay? You had seven Sabbaths before we went into the Holy Land. And then Moses went to Mount Horeb to see the land, and we crossed in over Jordan into Israel, brothers and sisters, on the 50th year. A generation is 50. So you take that 120, you multiply that by 50, and that give you a time stamp the Most High have given before the judgment, that mankind must do what? Go through life and understand their purpose according to God with a standard. 120 times 50 is 6,000 years. It took that amount of time from the beginning of creation, the beginning of time being created, because the Most High is not subjected to it. The heavenly realm isn't subjected to our time. They come into our time once they what? Come through the gates into this earth. The heavenly realm, and when we die, and when we're in the spiritual realm is not subjected to our time and space. Time was meant for a judgment. It was meant for what? An appointment. So we're talking about 6,000 years, because it took 6,000 before man was made and had that choice. He would have rested if Adam and Eve would have partook of that tree of life. But because he chose the tree of good and evil, and we're going to show you who introduced that choice, those spirits are still giving mankind choices today. I'm going to tell you right now, at the end of that 6,000th, it would take, don't forget, because Adam partook of the tree of good and evil and not the tree of life, it would have to take another 6,000 years for man to be made as God intended. Now, this is the man that's worthy for what? The tree of life, the kingdom to come. So our life experiences and or choices, like Adam and Eve's, determine whether or not an individual is worthy of that reward. But then it comes down to, do you really believe? Do you believe in God? Because you can't say you believe in him and not find your purpose in him. Okay? You can feel and try to tell others. But no one really truly believe in God unless they find a purpose in him. That's when he become real in your life. That's when you understand the power that works on the outside of you. I guess that's a true meaning of a true relationship with God. So, Elder Lawya,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you want to say anything on that. Are you good or?
No, sir.
All right, great. Let's go to standard, because the Most High he's not going to judge someone. He will never judge a person without first, and I'm talking about the consequential side of things, consequences. Without people understanding there's a standard. Now, let me make it clear. The earth will not last. Babylon will not last, because they have gone off from the standard. The balances have been tilted to evil without any pushback from those who believe in God. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you, folks, it was at one time, folks. It was at one time that there was more good people and those who fear God than bad. So when people started to follow the ways of evil and tilted the balance to evil, that's when the Most High said, speed up the time. It's time to speed it up, because they don't understand that they're on a suicidal trajectory. And if I don't give them less time than what was given, they would kill themselves. And I'm not going to allow these people who are making conscious choices against me to kill my righteous that are left for me. I'm not going to allow it. And that's why Christ said, what, in Matthew 24? When you go down to 13 through 22, it says, if he didn't cut that time short, that 6,000 years, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. People are on a suicidal trajectory, and they don't care who die in its wake. And that's where we are with this inoculation and what's going on in the earth. Everyone is talking about what the government is talking about, the cold, whether or not you have a disease, and no one is talking about God's hand in any of this. He's allowing people who don't know him, who decided consciously to walk away from him, he's allowing them to operate and kill each other. Standard. Let's go, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. Genesis 6 and 4.
Let's start it.
There were giants in the...
Okay. I need you to go now to Deuteronomy. Matter of fact, finish reading that. There were giants in the earth in that day.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare to them children, and the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown.
Men of renown, giants, Nephilim. Folks, these are not people. There was no place in the earth for these particular beings. So once they died off, once they die, their spirits must roam in the earth before judgment. And what are those spirits today? What do we call those spirits? Demons. What we're talking about is the origin of demons that attack mankind. That's where demons come from. But just like people, brothers and sisters, when the Most High says, put on the full armor of God. Now, is it physical armor he's talking about? Faith, hope, and all the other things he talks about, the love factor. And have our breastplates. This is what he's talking about is what? Armor for war, not physical armor. To let you know, folks, that the unseen seeks ways into you, invisible ways into you. But the access for these demons to get through is usually sin. Sin or a confession publicly telling them that they are allowed to utilize you. Now, witches and warlocks just say it straight out. They do all types of things and bring things into their presence. And with that agreement, their life will begin to change. Okay? But understand who you're making an agreement with. And understand that what? Something takes possession of a part of your soul. And this is what these Nephilim does. Are they permanent? No, they're not permanent. When you recognize the sin in you and the things you're doing wrong, and there's a conscience against it, you're battling against that spirit who's using your body. It's taking hold. That spirit of taking hold of that original sin that started with Adam to help you choose evil even when good is present. Okay, that's how it works. That's how it works. So when people talk about demon possession, exorcism, and this is why most people don't believe that demon possession is really happening to the people. That's really happening. Folks, you know why? Because they gave us the extreme through the Exodus. That when there's a demon possession, it's someone with spitting out green stuff, their head is turning around. But no, demons, folks, have many characters. And the most powerful demons are the subtle ones. Why? They don't want you to recognize they're there, or you will seek to rid them. You would seek to rid them. So what are they? They're demons. Where did they come from? They came from the Nephilim, who had no place in habitations or in heaven because they were made outside of the normal process of man and woman. There's a place for our spirits because the Most High sends our spirits. We had a place with the Most High from the beginning. Every soul on earth was with the Most High from the beginning and has a purpose on earth. And there's an exit point for all those spirits because it was intended for them for the beginning. But these spirits, Nephilim demon, there was no place for them. So that's why they roam the earth looking for a person that's subjected to sin so that they can take hold. And I'm going to tell you right now, the pharmaceutical apparatus is set up so that these spirits can take hold of a body with very, very little resistance from its host. I'm going to tell you that right now. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. We're in Deuteronomy.
Now, let's go to Deuteronomy 20. Deuteronomy 6. So let's talk about the standard now. The standard.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse number 1.
Now, when our people came...
Now, these are the...
Hold up, Elder Lawyer. When our people came... I know there's a little delay because we're here on... I have you here remote today because of the snow. But go ahead. I need you, Elder Lawyer. Do us a favor, folks. We need you to hit more likes if you can. I really appreciate it. All right. But go ahead, Elder Lawyer. Let's read. When we came out of Egypt, the Most High told us, don't do as we learned in under the Egyptians. The Egyptians were pagan, they were traditionalists, but their moral, they didn't have no moral standard. Okay? Anything went. And I'm talking about bestiality, same-sex interactions, and all these things. Of course, there was people who were just having family and that didn't go to the other side of the Nile. No pun intended. Okay, but all in all, our God said, you see what we witness in Egypt? We are moral people. We're not like them. Here's a standard. And with this standard would make Israel a special people, a different people, a people worthy of protection from on high. See? So he says, I'm going to give you a standard. And all the people who come in presence of you and your family will learn those standards. Israelites were born to not only just teach the world, but at the end of it, to judge it. So the Most High just didn't give us a law. Thou shalt not do this and thou shalt not do that, strictly for, and it benefits us personally. It's a standard that does what? Give us a higher quality of life. And it gives us security to know that the Most High will protect and guide our children, who will teach these same standards to their children. See? So he not only gave it to us on a personal level, there was a global understanding of why our people, the children of Israel, would have the law, that he would send Christ. So that eventually, at the end of that law we've upheld in our lives, we would use that law to judge the evil that caused the chaos on our families. Not just the visible, the invisible also. So let's read some of this standard that our people once had. Elder Lawya, let's go to Deuteronomy 6. A matter of fact, let me open it up with you here. And thank you all for your presence on this Sabbath. I hope you all are safe out there today. Hold on, let me get it with you, Elder Lawya. A standard. Now, here is some of the scriptures we would read to our families on the Sabbath. Listen to this. Go ahead, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy 6, verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it.
So he says, listen, I'm going to give you laws, a standard in the land that you've gone to, that I'm giving you as an inheritance. So I'm not just letting y'all go willy-nilly up into my land without rules. Folks, when the colonizers came to America, they came with a standard. Regardless of what people might say about doctrine, the standard in America at one point was the Judeo-Christian morals and laws from the Holy Bible. That's why the Most High allowed them to do what they were doing, because it was establishing a book that would one day be given back to its people. So that means everyone went to church and everyone had a fear of God, a conscience towards God. And really, when it came to that scale I talked about earlier, that scale, it was more so tipped towards good, family values, traditions. Now, were they following every part of the Bible? No. But it was a conscience towards God when the Gentiles came here with our record, the Bible. So in order for them to establish this country, Babylon or America, or whatever place they colonized, They had to go in with the standard. That ain't something that was created by the Roman Empire and white people strategically thinking about. No. They read our record and understood it, that if they were going to go into a country, they would need the power of the God who set up a standard for his people going into Israel. They had to come with a standard. The question, brothers and sisters, are they following that standard now? So this is why I'm going to talk about why God is allowing all this to happen. Because at the end of this, I'm going to show you. The white man and the other nations, when they came over here, they know better. They knew better. They knew we were the children of Israel. They knew one day we would find out. It didn't stop them from bringing the Bible. Why? Because a standard had to be established that they know all people could cleave to for some level of order. You cannot set up a new civilization without a standard. Whether you believe it's true or not, okay? A standard must be set. If you're seeking all civilizations of people that you're conquering and people coming over to live morally and safely amongst one another, a standard must be set that they would come into. Well, the Judeo principles of the Bible was that. So the Most High gave us that going into Israel. He says, listen, I'll give you the land, but it comes with a standard. Let's talk about it.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy 6, verse 2.
Come on.
That thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee. Thou and thy son and that thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and all his statutes, or all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee,
now,
that thou and thy son.
Now, I know there's some feedback there, or there's some delay, Elder Lawya. It's fine. I understand. But it says right here, brothers, fear our God. Now, this is a good fear. Now, do we fear the virus today more than God in this earth? In number. How many people fear God more than the virus they're talking about on the news today? To show you how far we have left the standard of understanding who God is. Okay? Our people just witnessed in the Bible our God parting the Red Sea, destroying Pharaoh and his army in it. They seen the pillar of cloud at night, directing our people. Folks, I even showed in the academy the rock of Horeb, where the Most High had, when Moses struck the rock and the water gushed out. That's archaeological proof. It happened. It's still there. So when the Most High said, fear God, it's like, understand what I just did to those people who were disobedient, reprobate heathens who refused to let you go. They had real-time evidence of why you should fear that God. Brothers and sisters, that God still exists. Our educational system and all that have disconnected us purposely from understanding the God all man should fear, not just Israelites. And this is why I can look at their little code or whatever they say and going to happen. And I'm not sitting in my corner, oh my God, what's going to happen? Because I know the God who delivered us out of Egypt. I know the God who sent his son. And I know he's with us. That's the true fear. that one must have to understand the power of our God. If you think what he did to Egypt was something, wait and see. And our people are going to what? We're going to be preserved through it. So the first thing he said is understand that what I did in the back, in the back of us, in the wilderness, what I did to the Egyptians, understand that those who cross me will be on the other side of this judgment. So he said, I'm going to set up a standard. So Israelites, there's no excuse, Israel. I did everything for you. Fear me, because when you cross over to the Gentiles and follow their ways, eventually you will experience the judgment I have against them in the future. You will fall with those other nations. And it's not and the Most High says, it's not my fault. I gave you a standard. You get with these heathens who celebrate pagan traditions, these heathens who deal with New Age philosophy, these Buddhists and all that. You get with these same people who worship the fallen gods within the earth. Eventually, you're siding with gods against the God who delivered our forefathers. So guess what? There's a judgment. What judgment? The judgment we're living under. Because all the gods you are serving in the earth are telling the people to drink. It's time. You're on a suicidal trajectory. Drink the juice. And the Most High is allowing it. There's no God warning us from what modern medicine is doing to the earth right now. And I'm going to show you where I'm going. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 2. That thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged.
That thy days may be prolonged. So he says, listen, parents, we're responsible for making sure what? This agreement stays intact. That means if one day I'm gone, my sons will be instilling this in their children. That's our responsibility when our children go out into the world. They must have conscious knowledge of the God and appreciate the God who delivered our foreparents and who has delivered our people in this time through Christ with the true knowledge. With that true knowledge that and appreciate it. Just listen, fear me. Make sure your children know who I am. Don't let them go someplace and forget about me. Finish.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee, and the land that floweth with milk and honey.
Come on.
Verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
The Lord our God is one. Are we one with our God? Boy, what if we were one with our God, like the European is with his? What brothers and sisters, if we were one with our God, like the Chinese people are with their whole country worships the dragon outright. Man. And we're being religiously torn apart, divided, not realizing that all of these nations have targeted us. has targeted us with their lesser religions. Only because they fear, they know what happens when we come together as a people. We lost our history. They didn't lose our history. When we came together as a people, and our God was, the Bible was with us. And guess what? All of these wars are recorded in secular history, even in Gentile history, against the Israelites. Imagine you put the Jamaicans, the Dominicans today, blacks, the Puerto Ricans, the North American Indians, the Seminole Indians. Imagine all the West Indies, all our people in Africa. Imagine if you were to put us all together under one mind, one spirit, one God. What army in the earth could oppose us? So don't forget, it's in the interest of the world powers to keep us divided, knowing that the history of what happened to their forefathers when our people understood there was one God and we were one under that God. So it's in their interest to keep us divided and thinking and making us believe we have this higher knowledge by going into Egyptology and black science and this, that, and the other. It's in the Gentiles' interest because why? Why? They didn't forget our history. As long as we don't come back under the standard that was destroying their forefathers and had them fear us like we once feared our God. Come on.
Verse 5. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
Look at that.
And these were...
You should love your God with what, Elder Lawya?
With all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
And with all thine might. Love thy God. Now, if we know our God and love our God, that alone, brothers and sisters, will give us a higher appreciation for one another. The patience he had when we did wrong, the forgiveness, he continued to forgive us regardless of what we do in the earth, as long as we're willing in a contrite spirit to come back and say we're sorry for what we've done. He continually receives us. Imagine if we had that same love amongst one another and not find a way to continue just to cut off relationships and to not speak to people. And listen, there's a bigger standard here. The togetherness and what God wants from us is bigger than our personal pet peeves and offenses or offenses. When we say the Lord our God is one, it's like, well, okay, it's time for us to take that same love he had for us and the standard he had for us and use it for one another. For good. Use that same love and being one and saying, you know what? I'm not going to hold a grudge. You did me wrong. And now I'm not going to put you in a position to do that to me again. That's foolish. But I can forgive you. I can honestly forgive you. Okay? Without holding a grudge, without cutting you off forever. Right? So that love extends not just with us understanding our God who gave us the commandments, but the laws of civility that he's given us to do what? To live one amongst another. At one time, all of the other nations envied the love we had one for another. Come on.
Yes, sir. Verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
That means what? It says right here, thou shalt diligently teach it, 7th verse, unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house. This is what we owe our children, to know about this great God. And when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, remember me. I'm protecting you. The invisible is with you, guiding you. He's there. And how many of us can honestly say at least once a day, not even 3 times a day, we take a little space, even in the bathroom, to ourselves or something, to acknowledge and appreciate the God who gave us life? We're so busy in our lives right now, and that we prioritize God backward. It's not giving reverence to him for giving us life and breath every day first. It's fitting him in. Him being less in priority with all the other things we must do to survive. But folks, I'm going to tell you, all civilization soon will halt. All of these Babylonian cities and all that are on grids, folks. And it was meant one day. It was meant one day, folks, for all the power plants we see in the earth to stop. It was meant, it was set up that way. And if y'all don't believe me, folks, I need all of you to look up. A matter of fact, I'll do it right here for you. I'll do it right here for you. Let me show you. This is from the Library of Congress, so that brothers and sisters can't think that this is some conspiracy, okay? Why power companies build nuclear reactors on fault lines. The case of Japan. The case of Japan. How many U.S. nuclear plants are located near earthquakes? Frontier. Located near earthquake faults. How many? There's many. When you read the story, look at this. Right? Just look it up yourself, folks. Look it up yourselves. They've strategically built the nuclear plants on fault lines throughout the whole United States. One big earthquake will have it where it'll be what? A chain reaction with each power plant blowing, because they built the nuclear power plants on purpose near earthquake fault lines. Where the Bible tells us, and I'm going to read it, that it's going to be a great stone. That means something is going to happen like an earthquake that's going to put a stone in the water, and eventually a tidal wave will happen, and America will be broken into 3 pieces. 3 separate parts. All the dams will break, all the levees will break, and there will be 3 separate pieces of America. We'll still be living in it. But the Bible The Bible said it would happen. So when I said, brothers and sisters, that we prioritize God wrong, it's because of the things we have to do in a day, right? Well, when it goes down, folks, it's all going to stop. And whatever you would prioritize for a day will no longer exist. But he will. But he will. So if we get with him now, we'll be with him at the end of it. The same way when people had to stay in their houses, didn't have jobs, doing this old COVID thing or whatever the case is, and didn't know what to do with their lives because what they would normally plan no longer exists. Brothers and sisters, that was a test. People were miserable because the life they thought they had was taken away from them. So what am I to do with my life? You know why you're thinking that way? Because that God you should have prioritized wasn't first. And and the majority of people just keep themselves busy to distract them from that void in their life, which is God, who should be prioritized. But when this happened, folks, there's no going back to work. There's no going back. No, it's a whole nother phase. And this is why I titled this, Why is God Allowing This to Happen? He's allowing all this chaos to happen because there's liberty and freedom in between in which we can choose him while there's an opportunity. He's letting it happen and seeing how the people are reacting who claim they love him, who claim they believe in Jesus, they believe in Christ. Elder Lawya, let's go back to Deuteronomy.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse number 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
Come on.
And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates. And it shall be when the Lord thy God should have brought thee into the land which he swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things which thou fillest not, and wells dig which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten and be full, then beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house.
Hold up, read that last verse again.
Yes, sir.
The
verse
number
12.
of it. Verse 12. Listen to this, brothers and sisters.
Then beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage.
And it says, beware, fear. Beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. You're going to forget you were slaves. Have you forgot the curses of Deuteronomy 28, how we got here? He says, eventually you're going to forget with all this freedom, with all the gifts of being able to raise your family with resources, no fear of the other nations, no fear of people opposing you, with your king and your people. Lest you forget the Lord who delivered us out of bondage. Folks, Elder Lawya, I was checking this out. Do our people even, are we a people in America? Let's just use, now we can use this any place in the earth where our people were scattered, but let's use America just as an example. Are our people operating as people that actually went into slavery and was and was colonized by God's enemies? Think about it. Have we forgot captivity? Have we forgotten it? Oh no, I just got to get the bag and just, what is the purpose? Folks, there is no purpose in life without God. There is no purpose. At the end of it, you can acquire all the riches and acquire everything that you want to acquire, and you'll still be miserable. You will still be miserable because you just have things. You just have things. And all you did, but it was really what? It was the quest, the drive to get that thing you desired. That was really the purpose. It was the drive. It gave you a purpose, not having it. And really, it's about the chase. It's about the drive. That's what gives us life, not the things we acquire. You get the thing and say, well, okay, I'm bored. All right, what else? Let me find something else to do. But one thing, right? But when it's the Most High, that drive never stops until it's over. If that void is filled where you know the Most High is working with you with that purpose, that drive stays throughout all of our lives. And that's why it told us to teach it to our children. It gives us true purpose for not just when we come into the earth. It gives us purpose from our birth to death. Because we're living for something outside of ourselves. It's about wanting what's right for our people as a whole, not as individuals. It's a purpose. But you can only understand that purpose if God or the Most High God is prioritized. Because you will do this and thinking that, and how many things we desire to do or quest we desire to go on in life. And once we got to it, it was like, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Right? Mm-hmm. But one thing about when it's the Most High, because just doing the work of the Most High, He always brings forth a new adventure within seeking Him. He's like, okay, my son or daughter see me now. They recognize me. All right, okay. All right, send the angels, put this idea in them so they can do this for me. And you will do it, knowing you serving God and helping people and everywhere. And then at the end of it, you'll be like, man, I got something out of this. My people are doing better. And you know what? I even have more than what I had before. And then the Most High says, because you was doing it backward. You were backward. You were chasing your own life when I'm the one started all this. You get on the path and I put the things on the path that's needed for your purpose for me. You're not going to get it the other way around because there's only two masters to serve. And if you choose the other side, you are at odds with me. See? Let's go, Elder Rawchaa.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods of the people which are round about you.
Never serve the religions of the Gentiles. The Most High warned us with this standard. This was a standard, folks. Do not follow the religions of the Gentile nations. They're all serving the Babylonian god. They're dealing with Baal, Satan. Don't envy the Gentiles and their traditions and their holidays. Read.
Verse number 15. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth.
Come on. Verse
16. Ye shall not tempt the Lord your God as ye tempted him in Massah. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, and his testimonies, and his statutes, which he commanded thee.
When it says tempting
and
tempting the Most High, doing things, brothers and sisters, that you know puts you at odds with the God you claim to love. I don't want to do it, but if you make me do it, okay. So it's tempting him. It's to the degree where our people will push and push and push, doing what's wrong, to a degree where the Most High said, you know what? Okay, angels, it's time to go out there and show them downstairs what consequences looks like. And whatever the Most High does, whatever he tell the angels, it's done. Okay? If he sends them in the earth and says, listen, I know this person had a certain amount of time, but I need to see him almost immediately. Get him out of here. Get her out of there. Or he can be like, well, listen, they tempted me. They know they're doing wrong. Let's make it rough on them for the next 5 years. About 5 years, they'll come around. Keep them alive. But they'll come around and they'll realize that they lost 5 years with what they could have done right at an earlier age. I'll just let them go around in a circle like the Israelites did in Egypt. 40 years in the wilderness when Israel was probably about a year and a half away or whatever the case is. They could have got there in months. So you think you got all this going on and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And it tell you that I think it's in the book of Haggai. Soon as you put all your plans together, the Most High send the angels. He says, I blew on it. You build your house of cards, and then when you got to the point where it would have been success, he go, and your whole house of cards fall down and you're back at square one. He'll let you just run thinking that you are accomplishing something. Then he'll blow on it. And now you're depressed. Nothing never worked for me. Nothing. Why this keep happening to me? You know why? The operative word you're using is me. That's the operative word. Me. What about your purpose with God? Right? Let's go back to the verse.
Yes, sir. Verse number 16. Ye shall not tempt the Lord your God as ye tempted him in Massah. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God and his testimonies and his statutes which he commanded thee. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, that thou mayest go in and possess the good land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers.
Come on.
Verse 19. To cast out all thine enemies before thee, as the Lord hath spoken. And when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What meaneth the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God hath commanded you?
So eventually, your children, if you're serving the Most High, your children are going to grow and become inquisitive concerning that I would say the serious belief they have experienced while growing up, beholding your what? Your love for God. The children eventually will start looking at you and then they'll start asking you questions. Because children will grow it, but then they'll come to a point of purpose, and then they'll go to people who had purpose to inquire, why is your belief so strong? Teach me to see as you see. Because it's one thing to rehearse what my parents been teaching me. It's another thing to live it and know the God my parents serve. So the Most High knew it one day when a young man or a young woman come of age, they would have questions for their parents concerning him. So when they go to their parents, Elder Lawya, read.
And when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God hath commanded you? Then thou shalt say unto thy son, We were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt.
And you will tell them the history in the Bible of how we were Pharaoh bondmen in Egypt. The same way we can now relate it to our children now and say, the same way we was in bondage in Egypt, the Most High through disobedience brought us here to America, which the Bible labels Babylon. See that? Now we're giving our people the true understanding to why God is allowing this. Now our children are asking us questions, and now when we send them into the world, they know why the earth is what it is. They're not questioning God because our neighborhoods are tore down and because there's no honor amongst us anymore. They're not blaming God for it because you're telling them. You're telling them why we're in such a low case here in America, according to God. See? You're not just saying Pharaoh. We're giving our children knowledge of the modern day Pharaoh, the president. Right? And now you're giving knowledge to our children to why the Great Pyramid was printed on the dollar bill. The one world order. People talking about the one world order, bringing forth the one world order. Folks, the one world order started a long time ago at the Tower of Babel. They're just finishing it. Now you're telling your children, this is why do you think all the way here in the West, you have a pyramid on your dollar bill? And now you're telling your children, well, the same way we built Egypt, it was the children of Israel who built America. We're the people. Because with that knowledge come the standard I read in Deuteronomy 20. We're reading in Deuteronomy 6. It's the standard to what that God requires from us. Okay? Require from us as a people to be a covenant people. See? An agreement with our God. This is what makes you know him. This is how you know you have a relationship with him, because you are in agreement with him. And you're now exercising that agreement amongst your family and conveying that agreement to our children. So regardless of what happens in the world, we can no longer blame our God for what's wrong with it. With the standard, you can actually point out what's wrong when things are being exercised against the laws that was given to our foreparents. And now no longer blame the Most High for things or the evil we see in the earth. Everyone had a standard and a choice. Okay? Finish reading, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. Verse 21. Then shalt thou say unto thy son, We were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand, and the Lord showed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us from thence, or brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day.
As it is
and it shall,
at this day. Come on, verse, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. 25, last verse. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he commanded us.
And that shall be our righteousness. The more we follow these laws and institute this covenant in our lives, the more the Most High's voice is present within our conscience. This is when you're being guided, and you know you're being guided from something outside of you. Once you're in that agreement and that relationship that comes with actual action, you're being guided through ideas. Things are being instilled in you while you sleep. He's talking with you. Where there's no question whether or not the God exists, whether or not the God of all gods exists. You don't have to try to use and try to convince others he exists. Okay? When you're walking with the Most High, delivering his word, praying to the Most High, following the covenant or the agreement being read, others will know. You don't have to convince a person that the Most High is real. By your actions, others who witness, who are looking at you, that example alone will tell them it's something greater than the person I'm talking with or looking at or hanging out with. There's something greater. Okay? Or I grew up with this person, I've seen this person, and I know that there's another component that's operating with this person that's different. But that starts with what? A relationship, a standard that must be set. Now, and I said earlier about the standard of Babylon, that actually this standard was established when the colonizers came to America, where it doesn't matter if immigrants would come into the country or whatever the case is, they knew the moral code that was established here. But eventually, it stands no more. So hold tight. We're about to go into the second part of, I'm just going to hold it real quick. Why is God allowing the chaos we see today? And I went from the spiritual realm, the covenant. Now I'm about to go to what? Talk about what? The people. Why the Most High is going to allow the majority of the earth to perish in this judgment that will soon hit earth. Hold tight. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that he used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited. Okay, jumping right back in. Why is God allowing this? Elder Lawya. Let's now go to, and as you can see, Hebrew and Bible Academy, since I just did that to let you know that the Hebrew and Bible Academy starts next Sunday, February 6th. If you're interested, go to historytimes.com. A matter of fact, History Times, let me get it here. Let's get it here. History Times, not .com, .org. .org, okay? We got brand new in-depth lessons on finding the Ark of the Covenant to show you that the Most High will give that Ark of the Covenant back to us. It's not in Ethiopia. We know where exactly it is. I can tell you that right now. I know, according to the word, where the Ark of the Covenant is. All right. Finding the Ark of the Covenant, the gates of hell, the spiritual doorways between man and the heavens and hell. Hell does exist, okay? And the reason why the Most High made hell, we're going to talk about that also. Israel's tribulation in the wilderness, which is a powerful lesson. Powerful. Because the Most High is preparing us to be pilgrims out here when all these cities collapse. We'll be making our way back to the wilderness, and I'm going to be talking about exactly how that happens. Okay? And again, I'm going to also be going into marriage and family. Can it survive? And what we're going to be talking about, I'll deal with it in the academy first, but then we'll deal with it. Then I'm going to talk about it on our broadcast. Brothers and sisters, there's concentration camps and internment camps set up everywhere on earth. Everywhere on earth, there's concentration and internment camps. Every place. There's actually islands where people are taken to and all that, that's never to be heard from again and all that. I'm going to be going into that and more. Some of this stuff I can't discuss here, but I'm going to be going into that in the academy. And also when I bring out, I'm talking about the UN, what they set up and all that. We're going to be talking about that. So I hope you are there in the academy, which starts not this Sunday, but next Sunday. All right. Now, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
All right. You back with us? Let's go to Jeremiah 51:1. When I said that there was a standard set up here in America from the Christians who founded America, even though you had the occult who came over, who was establishing the governments. You had the occult faction, but at that time, those that were practicing the occult had to do what? Practice in privacy, like those that were part of the Hellfire Club, Benjamin Franklin and Payne and all these who were outright Satanists. It was against the law for them to practice the occult. Okay? So initially, knowing that the majority of people in America feared God, the Indians who they conquered feared God, the slaves they were bringing over feared the God of the Bible. They knew we were Israelites. As a matter of fact, I have a book here Elder Lawya gave me, even though I think I gave Elder Lawya some of the information out of it. Race and Americanization, where the white papers of colleges could tell you that there were Israelites coming off the slave ships, and they named us as Israelites. That's right, but I got the record. I got the record right here. All right. So they weren't even calling us Africans coming off the slave ships. They were calling us Hebrews, Israelites coming off the slave ships to America. And I got the white papers, and Elder Lawya, thank you for the book. And we're going to be discussing that in the academy also. Elder Lawya, let's go back to the fact that because America was set up on Judeo-Christian principles, white Christians, black people who believe in the Bible, singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming for the carry me home over the River Jordan. The Negro spirituals, we weren't talking about Africa. It was no doubt that we were the people of the book. In spite of the white images the colonizers pushed, we all knew coming from Africa that Christ wasn't a white man. They knew we were Hebrews, and we knew we were Hebrews. So because they would have God's people under captivity for a time, because we disobeyed God, the rules of engagement was that they had to set up a system in which our people could at least find our God. The standards of the Bible. So now the enemy is absolved. He can say, well, listen, we put the book in front of them and they chose not to follow it. Of course, the Gentiles deal with all their occult holidays, their wickedness, and the sin that they were dealing with, can continue to do so like it was in Egypt. But now they can absolve themselves because the standard was set and God's people chose to what? Walk away from it. That's one point. But then the Gentiles who claim to uphold the book began to deal with evil and institute evil to teach it to others on an institutional level. That's when our God said, well, hold up now. This is something else here, the institutional level, where you're going to teach I never existed. You're going to teach evolution. When that wasn't the agreement that you would come into a country and teach I didn't exist. When I prophesied you going there. Right? That wasn't the agreement. The occult would take precedent over what? Society, over the political realm, over the educational realm, to make people question whether or not God ever existed. And when they begin to do that, the gender thing and all these other things, the Most High said, okay, bets off, buddy. Pull the plug on it. Right? So let's go. I'm going to show you this. Let's go, Elder Lawya. Let's go to Jeremiah 51 real quick. Jeremiah 51.
Sir.
Yes. We can start at
Jeremiah 51.
Yeah, we can start at the first verse.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 51, verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth the archer, or against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up his brigandine, and spare ye not her, young men, destroy ye utterly all her host.
Come on.
Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah
hold up. Listen to this, folks, why the Most High is going to allow a war. Because Israel, the true people of Israel, have not been forsaken. The Most High he didn't forget the oath he made with our forefathers. He never forgot. He's never forgotten that. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses giving us the law, the agreement, the covenant I read in Deuteronomy 6, because the Most High is not a man that he should lie, just because we've broken our covenant with him by not coming back to what? The son that was sent as an example to get back to him. The Most High never forgotten his covenant with us. Isaiah 13 tells us about a war that will happen. And guess what? Guess who's fermenting that war right now politically? I'm not going to say Joe Biden because I don't know how much cognitively he, as far as what he's dealing with up there, has to do with some of these progressive moves that are being made under his name. But right now, they're instigating the war with, the war with Iran, which is Isaiah 13. Once that happens, the fanners will come. The Most High will send the weaponry. And guess what? He's going to allow, that's right, the Medes to do what it does. And there will be bombs and all that in the waters and all that will have what? You got it. A domino effect on all of the power plants. A great earthquake that will break America in three pieces. And at that time, those who have purchased those areas will stake claim to it. The East Coast will belong to England. The middle of the country will belong to China because it already does financially. And the West Coast will belong to Russia. It's going to be a corporation broken up into three pieces. Still, there will be some survival going on after the fallout with the low life expectancy in the earth. Okay. Now I'm going to be, I'll show it next week, but go on, Elder Lawya, finish reading.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 51 verse 5.
Listen, someone says, no, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead. Finish reading.
Yep. Jeremiah 51 verse 5. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts.
Come on.
Though their land was
So keep in mind, folks, if you fear the Most High, keep the commandments, deal with his covenant, do what you're guided to do, that the judgment coming isn't on you. We will be moved through this, folks. Some of us will be able to operate and go to other places before it happens, and some of us will be guided through it. Because the judgment isn't for those who are following the Most High, who have cleansed themselves through baptism and have repented for the sins of the past. Okay? You will be guided. Your families will be protected. And don't forget, Lot's wife was procrastinating. She was procrastinating because she didn't want to leave. She didn't want to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife didn't want to leave. So she started procrastinating, all slow, trying to get stuff. And the angel said, you know what? The fire's coming, and move Lot's whole family to a mountain on the outside of where Sodom and Gomorrah was. And they looked up. In an instant, they were moved to one spot. And they looked up, and Sodom and Gomorrah was on fire. And that's another thing. We're going to show you that movement through the gates. In the academy, we're going to talk about that. I said we're going to teach that, of how the angels move people in the earth. How did they do it with the prophets? We're going to show you this, but this is going to be on an international scale, brothers and sisters. And it's going to be all over the world at the same time, how Judah and Israel will be moved. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel.
Read.
Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul.
Come on.
Be not cut off in her iniquity.
Do not
for
be
this
cut.
is the,
Hold up. Do not be cut off in her what?
Be not cut off in her iniquity.
Do not be cut off in her iniquity. Do not be caught up with the sins of Babylon. That's the first stage of coming out of her. See? Following the laws, instituting the covenant, so that you're not caught up when the judgment comes. Read.
Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
They are what?
Therefore the nations are mad.
Brothers and sisters, the Gentile nations who control the earth are crazy. This mad is talking about insane. What they're doing in the earth under their science and all that, believing it's going to work for them. And what they're doing, folks, right up under our nose, they're actually dealing with an international rendition to put down our people or the image of black people out of the earth, thinking that they're going to exterminate us. You notice all their movies now, they're showing East Indians, Asians. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, that's predictive programming for an earth. If what they're planning was to come to pass, that's how seldom you would actually see a black man. Look at all of the productions they're putting up. That's predictive programming. If what they were planning actually was coming to fruition, what you're seeing on TV is what the earth would eventually be if God didn't stop it. And the same time, and one thing about the movies and TV is predictive programming. It's conditioning you to adjust to the social engineering of a society. So they're not going to show a black man unless a black man is big and gay and soft, because that's the man that they foresee in the future when it comes to the strength of Judah. That's what they're engineering. You're not going to see a family unless the family is without a black man. That's predictive programming. So they have gone crazy. Why? Because they can no longer subtly destroy us like they used to. By keeping us from the knowledge of our God and our standards, we all know now that a lot of our people are self-reflecting, repenting, and coming back to the knowledge of who we were before captivity, the Israelites. Okay? So the Bible tells us they done went mad. What you see in the movies and how they trying to engineer and make soft people, and also saying, well, there's some people in the earth that are disproportionately affected by this or disproportionately affected by that. I'm going to give you a tip, brothers and sisters. When they say there's something disproportionately affected a people, and it always is us, that's usually political jargon letting you know that something is being weaponized to kill more of us that won't affect the other races of people. Because the solution can only be for these particular people, so we don't have to worry about it because it's not affecting us like it's affecting them. So our solution to kill them is for them. The Chinese don't have to worry about it. The whites don't have to worry about it. The Arabs don't have to worry about it because they're not being affected. So when you hear that disproportionately affected by something, that's a veiled political statement saying that these are the people that are getting targeted by us. I'm helping you out here to show you, because these are the words they use, these trick words, to have you participate in your own demise. Okay? Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. And like I mentioned real quick off the back of that, believe it or not, that's an old trick from the days of the eugenics movement,
Okay.
where they would label a particular people. They would say that this people are disproportionately, or they're prone to this attribute of being either a moron or being retarded or what have you, or they're disproportionately prone to the attribute of criminality or what have you. And because of that, they will begin to take action and say that because these people are prone to this, or they're disproportionately involved in this type of activity, or prone to some type of sickness or illness, we need to slowly but surely wipe their gene out of the earth before it affects the people with the good genes or what have you. So that's an old trick of eugenics, when they say that a particular people are disproportionately prone to some type of sickness or something that can affect the rest of mankind.
Now, Elder Lawyer, it's deep. I'm going to show you how it's really one mind, one body, one spirit when we're dealing with this. Now, if I didn't say this, brothers and sisters would have believed that what I prepared on the internet and just showed them the statistics and all that, they would have believed I went over this stuff with you initially. So I just wanted to put it out there, folks. Based on what he said, you would think some of the things I'm about to show was discussed prior to the broadcast. It wasn't. But what you're saying, Lawyer, segue into where we're going to why God is allowing this. Because they use science and all that to frame a narrative of how the other races should view black people. They wanted us to be viewed as sick, less intelligent, threatening. All of that was on purpose, folks. So that they can come with the solution. That usually leads to what? Destroying a number of God's people in the communities. Right? So, Elder Lawyer, there's
Yes,
two
sir.
more. One more verse I wanted to pull out. Finish reading what you have there.
Yes, sir. Verse 7. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Come on.
Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so, she may be healed.
Hold up now. If so, she may be healed. So it was at a point where the Most High said, well, listen, at least go back to the standard in which we had a country in which almost 90% of the people living in the country believed I existed. At one point, there was a time in this world where the people in America believed in God. Right? Finish reading. I'm going to show you this.
Verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed.
Read the ninth verse.
Verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
Hold up now. Hold up, Elder Lawyer. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. The Most High would have had grace on this country, but she don't want it. She's like, well, nah, I'm going to destroy your people. I'm going to destroy this earth. Okay? As long as we uphold you as a God, with your people knowing they're Israel, they will overtake us if they come together. They come together under you, we're finished. So the nations are mad and saying, let's implode the whole thing. It's a rendition. Jim Jones the whole earth. Target their people. So that's what's going on. Like the madman Jim Jones, folks, that's who's at the helm right now, a madman. And the Most High would have healed them, and the only way he could have healed them is God's people with this Bible teaching the gospel, giving them an opportunity to do what? To renounce the religions of the Gentiles and come under safety before judgment. Read that last piece, and then we're going to move over to what I want to talk
Yes, sir,
about.
Verse 9.
Read.
Yes, sir. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies.
And that time will soon come, where she'll need to be forsaken altogether before the judgment come, before the war is here. The Most High would have healed her, but they see the rise of Judah in America, brothers and sisters. But they not only are witnessing the rise of Judah in America, they are witnessing through them not intervening. The whole earth, all of our people now are coming to the knowledge that we are the children of God in every remote place in which in which we have served. And the gospel and the truth and the power of who we are is disrupting everything. So, folks, scientifically and otherwise, they have set the world to a trajectory in which they would teach a suicidal ideology amongst our people to be destroyed off altogether, scientifically and otherwise. Now, this is what I wanted to show you before I go through the last few scriptures. I need y'all to look at this. Literary Hub. A brief history of women's liberation movement in America. Alex Kate Schulman, Anna Moore, map genealogists of feminist activism. Now, why am I going here? We would have been healed. I'm going to show you why America cannot be healed and why God is allowing its fall. Women of the World Unite, a brief history of women's liberation movement in America. The question I have here is, why did they create such a movement? And who are women liberating from? Man? Yes. But not just man, God. Now, why did I show the woman liberation movement? Why did I show that? First, well, I showed that first, brothers and sisters, because it's the woman's position to instill the traditions of the family in our children. See, this is why they created the woman liberation movement. The man is out making the legacy, and the woman is instilling the knowledge in the children that will continue the family's name. So they targeted the women and made women believe that they were actually being left out of society, that they were second-class citizens. But it was strategic for social engineering. They wanted a society in which the children would have to figure things out on their own. With the father working and the mother out there, The state can raise the children for social engineering. And they tried to make a woman feel as if she was losing something or missing something or weak if she aspired to have a career in raising her family. Now, why am I going here? I'm going to show you how this comes around full circle. One moment. We all heard about the Tuskegee experiment, right? Tuskegee syphilis experiment. We all talk about it, but what we don't talk about is the science of targeting our women reproduction organs through science and inoculation. This is science and direct. What they don't tell us about this experiment is that this is biological warfare, shooting stuff into a man that they know could be dealing with women that would make women what? Have issues bringing forth children eventually. Through eugenics, like Lawya mentioned, they would use science to target women for biological warfare against a society. It has nothing to do with man or woman. It has something to do with the weakness of man. The weakness of man and using women as biological weapons. It happened during the Vietnam War, where the Vietnamese would do what? Infect the woman, their women with syphilis, and send them in, later on, send them in amongst the army troops to get them sick with the disease to make them weak enough to be conquered by the Vietcong. Biological warfare. This was the plan, folks. Right? Now I'm going to show you where it goes. Why am I going here? If you push liberation, separation of family, that would leave more women without a tradition, without a legacy to bring forth. And they'll be single out there dealing with whoever they would like. Understanding that women exponentially outnumber men. Right? So what happens if this science progresses from one shot all the way up to the shots we have today with the plan of depopulation, sterilization, infertility? You would need a liberated society to have all these people dealing with one another in adultery, sin, fornication, to infect and spread a disease all over the earth to a point where the government would need to do what? Order and rendition. Where it'll get out of hand to the point where it's destroyed inwardly, and that civilization could no longer survive. Look at your screen. How many people today are on Instagram? 1.386 billion. Instagram. Facebook Messenger, 1.3 billion. Instagram has become a place where what? Harlotry or selling yourself has become legal without them telling the population. Why is God allowing this? Huh? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's go. Let me get this out of the way here. Hold on, folks. Let me get this out of the way. I want you all to see this. Tinder has risen to fame in less than a decade of registering and presence in the online dating world, ranking among the most popular dating apps today makes it even sexier. In collating Tinder statistics, we considered how long Tinder been around, Tinder demographics, usage statistics, how to compare with other apps, and so much more, right? Now, but when you go into the statistics, there are 57 million Tinder users, 62% of which are male, and only 10.3% which subscribe to Tinder Plus and Tinder Gold. Now, brothers and sisters, Tinder is a place where people go to find people to be with. And the majority of people are going there is for relation. Not only that, not just the majority, all of them. Tinder is available over 40 different languages and all, but it talks about this, folks. Just think about this. 57 million Tinder users. 1.3, almost 1.4 billion Instagram users. Now I understand why they call the next generation Generation Z. That's the end of the alphabet. Because when I was growing up, the only choice you had was the people you know, either on your block or you met in school. Just imagine someone has the privacy of their home without any judgment to deal with anyone they want at any time without anyone finding out. And you're liberated. That means all people are connected and are dealing with each other all over the earth, especially within the United States. And at the same time, people are getting inoculations. So if you think syphilis was something, folks, the data isn't even out yet. What's to come from the experiment we are currently under? It was all about, I'm going to tell you, depopulation. So people want to ask Elder Lawya, why is God allowing this? America had a standard. The world had a standard. We as Israelites has had a standard and opportunity. And the people have chosen their side. And they have chosen death. They have chosen suicide. And this is what you choose when you choose freedom, or what they call liberty, over a standard. over a standard. And this is why the Bible tells us. Now, is this to absolve man? No. Why do you think man is 63% of those that are on Tinder? So they may be hiding in the dark or think that no one is seeing them or they're getting away with it, but eventually they will become carriers. And there's people that are dealing with this stuff, private, online and all that, and they're going to be carrying stuff back to their family members. And the woman is going to be bringing things back to who she's with. And we're going to have an infertile sterility problem all through the earth with people dying off with no cause in sight for why they're being disappeared. We're in it already. So Satan set up a system in anonymity, total privacy, to have people operate knowing how impulsive mankind can be if given the chance without anyone judging them. Oh man, how maniacal. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. What? They knew that man and woman could not resist partaking or biting that fruit, especially if no one's looking. But still, in this virtual world, all people have connected themselves and have dealt with each other. Elder Lawya, why did the Bible says, what does the Apocrypha or the Bible says about liberty? About liberty. The woman liberation.
Yes, sir.
What does the Bible, let me tell you, the woman liberation is against God. It's against God. It's nothing to do with someone being controlling, verbally. They done came up with the verbal abuse now. Has nothing to do with that. It was really about being free to do what I want to do without judgment, without anyone saying anything. Let's read that real quick.
Yes, sir. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, verse number 10.
And because
if thy daughter be shameless.
Hold up now. I'm going to show you how that works on the other side with the men. Because women liberation stated that let women be liberated from man, which is against God in of itself. But then it only allowed more women who are free to have access to men who were married. And then it becomes secular. Right? There's too many women compared to the number of men. And now man is seeing all this opportunity that wasn't there before, because at one time, people were attached to other people. So it becomes secular. The temptation is there because a man is starting to look at the numbers and saying, well, for every one of me, there's 4 or 5 of them. And I don't have to incentivize myself with them because I can go on Tinder or something and get the benefits of marital relations without worrying about the commitment or the financial fallout to divorce a woman. Right? So it's secular. The woman liberation was so evil because it wasn't just against the woman. It was now with the men having options they didn't have before. Lead us not into temptation. to a degree where the whole melting pot, everyone is dealing with everyone else, and they're all connected under a hive mind controlled through Satan. And these are the people who are confused to what's going on today. And 9 times out of 10, these are the people who have taken the juice and are spreading all types of stuff one amongst another right now. Where now you have to ask, you have not only teach your sons and daughters what's going on with the Most High, you have to warn them that they cannot even sleep with somebody unless they know the medical history of the medical history, or you can't even marry a person unless you know the medical history of whether or not they've taken the juice. That's how bad liberty is. Let's read that real quick, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. Sirach, chapter 26, verse number 10.
Come on.
If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself.
Matter of fact, because we have a delay, I'm going to let you read it all the way out, and then I'll break it down.
Yes, sir. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty.
Lest she abuse herself through what?
Overmuch liberty.
Lest she abuse herself with what?
Overmuch liberty.
Overmuch liberty. The Most High knew in scriptures what would happen if women were liberated under government. It would destroy the future of family. You can't be liberated from whom the Most High took you out of. So you had men who sought themselves to be liberated from God, and you have women who sought to become liberated from the man, in which if it wasn't for the man, the woman being taken out of the man, she would not exist. So now we have come to the apex of it all. We have come to the end of it all, to why God is allowing this now, folks. Because there's another phase going into the mark of the beast in the metaverse, where those that are online are chopping at the bit to leave reality into another mental universe, not realizing, listen to me clearly, and I'm going to prove this in the academy and the gates of hell. They are opening up the gates of hell, and people will be entering the gates of hell through the metaverse. Through the metaverse. And see, our children are already used to fighting crazy and weird looking creatures and all that. Online and all that, and seeing these weird creations that are really hell creatures. And when they get in that metaverse, that virtual reality, and guess what? It's not going to be like it is here, where you can play a game, lose your life, and hit the restart button. Okay? And we're going to hear about people on games and all that losing their lives and all of that. And they're going to claim it was the C word. It was the virus. Let me tell you, the majority of the people that are going to be dying in this country and throughout the world will be through the technology they're using first, before the war. Because what they're doing now is working perfect. People are taking the stuff, the juice. People are entering into the metaverse. And on top of that, they're dealing with one another, not realizing a judgment is coming. Here we go. You want to know what the end of the world looks like? Huh? Hey, Elder Lawya, we don't have an academy tomorrow, but I think this kind of covers some of the spirit of what we be dealing with in the academy, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, right. Why is God allowing this? Because this is what the people want. Let's go. They trust in death and stay thereon.
Yes, sir.
This is what they want. And only a few more, Elder Lawya. I need you to also get Thessalonians 2.
Mm-hmm.
No, they trust in oppression and stay thereon. Let's go there.
Yes, sir. Yep. Isaiah 30 and 12.
Yep.
Isaiah 30, verse number 12. Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise his word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon.
And stay thereon. Now, I need you to hold that and go to, this is where we are in time to why the Most High is really judging the whole earth and has decreed a judgment from the heavens against Babylon in particular. Let's go to Romans 1 real quick, Elder Lawya. And I need you to go where it says, start at the 28th verse. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, because they didn't want to
Yes, sir.
because America and others didn't want to uphold the standard they claimed they would uphold when they founded this country, that they would push laws, equitable laws, according to the standards of our Bible. Let's read it.
Yes, sir.
Romans 1.
Romans 1 and 28.
1 and 28. Let's read it. A matter of fact, let's start 28.
And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient.
Because we didn't put God first, to teach our children the importance of making sure he's prioritized first. Because we didn't want to retain God in our knowledge when it comes to the law, statutes, and commandments he gave us after being delivered out of Egypt. And even, let's say, white people who colonized the country. You came over as Christians, upheld the Bible. You were saying that you was going to not only rule and teach your family according to these principles, that you would convey those principles even to other races of people within the country, like slaves, North American Indians. That was the agreement, that we would at least agree on the standards, even if we were segregated. Because when we begin to allow sin to fester unchecked by God's law, it destroys societies, not just families. We're at the end of civilization as we know it, folks. There was rules of engagement. They just couldn't come over and enslave people and do all this. Nah, there had to be a moral component that they would agree on to establish such a country. Because if it's just evil and wickedness against a people, eventually the people will join together and destroy the place before it had an opportunity to begin. So they had to come with some similitude, a trade-off, when it comes to setting up a moral standard that all of us could agree with, regardless of race. And it was the Bible. So, so it says, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do all those things which are not convenient. Because you don't want to check with God first, you're confused to what's going on right now. You're taking the juice, you're becoming sterile, you're coming infertile, you're falling out by heart attacks, your whole family's sick, everyone's going crazy because you didn't seek God first. And you became reprobate. Reprobate is a broke mind where now we have people walking without conscience at all. They're just doing whatever they want to do, whatever that makes them feel good, not realizing the consequences of it. Well, hey, I don't care as long as I get the bag. Listen, the bag is going to be done. No society, no bag. And what benefit is it to gain the world and lose your soul? What benefit is it to get a bag and lose your soul? Finish reading, Elder Lawya.
Verse 29, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death.
Are worthy of
Not
what?
only do the same,
Hold up.
are worthy.
Hold up, Elder Lawya. Why is God allowing this? Read.
Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. Not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
So it's not enough that people are doing wickedness. You have people who have pleasure in teaching others to do wickedness. They have pleasure in seeing the whole society erode. If not so, parents wouldn't allow alternative lifestyles and all this other stuff being taught in school. They would understand the gravity of allowing someone who's demented to push an ideology against the standard of God. They would understand the gravity of allowing that. Sick people in authority positions because what? They got a degree? Where you would have a talk show, we'd have a man, woman, and you have something that you don't know what it is talking about. It's both with an equal opinion that the panel should respect. Why? So we have allowed this. When I say we, I'm just speaking as a whole because I'm here in the earth right now with you all, but I chose to serve God. I will never sit on a panel where I can have an equal moral argument or discussion with something that's saying they're both, as if that person has merit when it comes to the discussion. The whole time I'm going to be looking at the thing and saying, what the Hades is this? And that's where I'm going to be going. What do God have to say about you, dude, who's not satisfied with how God made you with a purpose? Hades with this discussion, who's that guy with the dress on? The world has gone mad, and now the whole earth thinks it's funny and it's a joke, and having pleasure in allowing society to erode where there's nothing left for our children. So the Most High is saying, well, listen, it's over. This is Sodom and Gomorrah and the days of Noah wrapped up in one. Let them suicide themselves. But when it comes to a point where it's affecting those who love me, I will intervene. I'm moving my people out of this. And this is why the Most High is allowing this to happen, folks. This is why God is allowing this, because this is what the people want. And we're at the end of the Jubilee that God gave us in Genesis 6, folks. We are at the end of it. The timestamp I discussed earlier in the video, we're right here at the end of it. Elder Lawya, last scripture before I make one more announcement. Let's read Matthew 6:26, that one precept, and let's get 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter.
Yes, sir. St. Matthew chapter 6, verse number 26. Behold the fowls of the air.
Matthew 16 and 26, Elder Lawya. 16.
Yes, sir. Matthew 16, verse number 26.
Yes.
For what is a man profited if he shall gain the world and lose his soul?
Read that again.
Or what shall a man? For what is a man profited if he gain the world and lose his soul?
What if a man?
Or
what profit a man that he would gain the world and lose his soul? One thing America has afforded, even in its immorality, is opportunity. If someone would have an idea to entrepreneurialize, to be an entrepreneur, that it can be accomplished. But while you're doing all this, what's of our family? What's of our children? What's of our future according to prophecy? Not to say those things shouldn't be sought after, but there should be a balance. God first, mission first. Because a lot of us believe that I can't serve God and go chase the bag too. I have to make my life right, and I got to go chase the bag. And when I get it, then I'm going to do good for my people. How long have we been saying that? How long have we been lying to ourselves? Look how many basketball players, entertainers, and all that, like I've mentioned a few weeks ago, with enough money to buy a whole country for us to live better in. How many of them said once they get out of the hood, they coming back to change things? It's a lie. It's all self-grandizing. It's all doing it so that you're not guilty. When you're out there thinking the angels aren't watching, serving Satan. And this is what Christ says. Christ says, what good is to gain the world and lose your what? Read it, Elder Lawya. Read both parts.
Yes, sir. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the world and lose his soul?
And lose
Or what shall a man give?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?
And what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You have a choice to make. And that's why I went back to the standard first, because brothers and sisters might ask, okay, I've messed up. I didn't know this growing up. Exactly where I can begin at this point in my life to get back on path with the God that made us, knowing that one day he'll see me. The same God who called me into this earth will call me before him in judgment. What must I do? Set up a standard. Go back to that standard, that covenant, that agreement, that believe it or not, that even Christ himself consecrated with his own blood, that would give us an opportunity to know in these last days, we are beyond any shadow of a doubt, the true children of Israel. Christ shed his blood so that spirit could come one day and get us out of this grave and stand up as God's people, as we once stood before in ancient times. So that covenant just didn't start with our forefathers. It was consecrated in heaven through Christ's, Yeshua's sacrifice for us. So it's time for us to instill the covenant. Come back to the standard which will be our protection while the whole world, that's right, get renditioned. It's all prophesied. We can look at the diabolical works of Fauci and Bill Gates and eugenics and all the social engineering that these demons are behind. But at the end of the day, folks, there's individual choice. There's individual choice that has nothing to do with any of the men I've just mentioned. Right? Setting up a standard. Last scripture, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
I need you to go to 2 Thessalonians